Hey, what's up everyone? This is Ill Factor from beatacademy.com. In this video, I'm going to share with you some music production tips while recreating Halsey's Without Me. So, let's dive right in. Now we're going to focus our attention to the riff that we hear at the beginning of the song. Immediately when I hear it, I think of an acoustic guitar that's underwater, or it's got that kind of feel to it. So I'm going to head over to an instrument that can replicate an acoustic guitar sound. And then we're going to go ahead and treat it to kind of get as close as we can to the sound that we hear on the reference. So for this, I'm actually going to use Contact, a third-party plugin loaded with sample libraries. And I'm going to use the factory library here. I'm going to go to the guitar section and just use a, probably just go start with a jazz guitar, or the jazz guitar preset. And let's go ahead and play the riff. So what we need to do is create that underwater chorusy type of effect. So I'm going to leave the preset exactly the way it is and see if I can draw close to the reference by adding some effect processing on there. So let's go to our audio effects folder here in Ableton Live, and the first thing I'm going to do is drench this sound with chorus, and that's what gives it that underwatery type of sound. So I'm going to go to the chorus plugin and drag and drop that directly after Contact. So just going to go ahead and put it on stun, just go to 100% here and see what we get. And that immediately puts it in the ballpark. And we can mess around with some of the feedback that's happening here. So we can even lower, so let me go ahead and do it with the feedback. So cranking a little bit of that feedback gives it some more of that underwater tone, and then using the high pass here to allow just a little bit more of the low mids to come in. Off of that first delay for the chorus. So now after that, we're going to go ahead and use an auto filter. Okay, we're going to filter out some of the high end here, and this will also give it more of that underwater blankety type of sound. Blankety, I don't even know if that's a word, but there it is. And then I'm going to give it a touch of reverb to just give some dimension and space. And reverb can really help a sound create an environment behind it. And so it doesn't sound so stiff, and really does help come alive. So just leaving the reverb exactly the way it is, let's go ahead and scale it back from 100%. Now we can adjust a little bit of the decay time so that the reverb tail doesn't go for so long, and we'll lower the diffuse so that the actual there's more elements in the acoustic environment that's diffusing the actual reverb. So I know it's weird by cranking or going to the left, meaning less, shouldn't we just crank more? Well, it's a little confusing, but just think of it like this. The diffusion will deduct negative 4.6 decibels of reverberation in the room. If that sounds crazy, just move the diffuse knob to the left. And now we can open up the filter just a little more. And next I'm going to add an autopen. Great plugin to use to create some movement both from the left and right signal path here. And this also gives this tremolo effect, the tremolo effect of like that a lot of guitar amps and pedals have. So I'm going to crank up the amount of panning that this is going to apply to the effect, to the guitar. And you can change the rate here depending, and we're putting it from hertz to the note here so it's in sync with the project. So now it's set to every bar. So at every bar, it's moving from left to right. Now if we want a little bit more of that shine, we can open up the filter a little bit to allow the chorus to come up a little more. And then what I have on a return track here is a ping pong delay, and I'm going to be sending a little bit of that signal over to the ping pong delay. Cool. All right, next let's go ahead and implement the drum pattern. So here I have a drum rack filled with some sounds, and these sounds can be downloaded absolutely free that I'm going to be using. This is put together in a sample pack that I have from some of my past projects over the year, and it comes with construction kits, loops, one-shots, transition effects. It's 100% royalty free, so feel free to use them in your projects, and you can simply just click and drag them into any DAW that you're currently using. And this is yours absolutely free, so just click the link below in the description box to download this sample pack today. So here we have the drum pattern, and I'm gonna go ahead. Now, a technique that I would want to implement here is using almost creating a ghost note. And if you're not familiar with what a ghost note is, it's a note that's played, but yet it's faint in the back. So it gives more of the feel or the impression of the presence of that beat, but not necessarily as evident as another the element of that sound. So for instance, we have this kick here. And so what I want to do is, instead of having this kick so dominant at this part here at the measure, I'm going to go ahead and copy this kick over, and we're going to create a ghost note. So let me go ahead and highlight that kick that we're using, holding the Option key, and just use an empty slot that we have here. And so what I'll do is I'll rename this and just put G in front of the kick, so I know it's the ghost kick. And then what I'll do is go back into the pattern. And what we'll do is go ahead, drag this kick that we're using, holding the Option, just actually moving this over here. So now what we'll do is we'll have that kick. Let's go to this and let's go and alter some of the sound design for that. So we're gonna put the filter on, and we're going to filter the kick down. And what we'll do is make it a lot shorter here on the one shot. And we'll also go ahead and lower it in volume. Right there. And now we can go ahead and hear the kick, and it's really going to produce more of the feel. So we might need to just bring it up in volume a little bit. So it gives the feel, and it's not so dominant as having the same kick playing. And this is a good method to implement when creating your beats, and you can go ahead and use things like that to add some dimension to the feel itself without having to always have a dominant, whether it's a kick or a snare present. You can do this with any instrument in the drum rack as well. Next, let's go ahead and add the 808 bass line that we hear in the chorus. So here I have an 808 sample, and this is an instrument that I've customly created inside Ableton Live, and the 808's running through some amp simulation, a little bit of compression, EQ, and then a sidechain compressor, so that when the kick hits and plays, the bass line is ducking and getting out of the way a little bit. I've already created this as an instrument that you can add into your projects just by clicking the link below in the description box. This is also included in that folder that I mentioned earlier. So let's go ahead and take a look at the pattern that we're doing with the 808. Now, when working in hip hop, a lot of times, and not always, but you'll find that 808 bass lines sometimes follow a kick drum pattern, and that could be really useful for a specific type of rhythm. So in this instance, in Ableton Live, you can click, I'm going to click the 808 clip here, and I'm going to hold shift so I can click the drum pattern clip, and that way I can view both patterns in the same clip view. So the green indicate the 808 notes, And when I hover over to the blue, I can just focus on the drum clip pattern there. So this is a helpful way to navigate through what the kick pattern is doing. And I can go ahead and click that, and then follow that kick drum pattern with this 808 instrument. And so all I'm doing is literally following the kick drum pattern, and I'm switching up the notes here. You can also find the kick drum pattern, highlight all of them, copy that, and then go to a specific clip and paste that pattern into that clip, and then move those notes to the corresponding notes you want them to trigger or play back. But having both clips being able to be viewed in the same view, in the same clip, is really helpful to understand kind of where other notes are being played or other patterns are being triggered throughout that measure or bar. And in the 4 bars after the main chorus, you hear a different bass synth or a different bass pattern being played altogether. So let's go ahead and focus our attention on that. For this, I'm going to use the wavetable in Ableton Live, but you could follow along using any 2 oscillator synth. And so here is the pattern. So what I'm going to do is, since this is a bass line, it's best that we switch from polyphonic, playing multiple notes at the same time, to monophonic, so that when one note plays, the other one shuts off as another one gets to be played. So there's no overlapping and doesn't sound sloppy. And so let's head from sine wave all the way to a sawtooth. We can probably just balance between the two, but for right now, let's leave it sawtooth. And we're going to go ahead and use our filter frequency and shave off a lot of that buzziness, that high end that we hear. And then just turn our sub harmonic oscillator on. And I'm just going to shape the slope a little bit of the amp envelope so that it's shorter when the note is done playing. And let's add some unison. So we'll go to classic, and we'll crank a little bit of that. And then we can go ahead and use some of the filter drive here. I'll start with OSR and just crank that up a little bit. So we can even just mess around with the wavetable here, maybe go down to triangle. That sounds a bit more like it. And there you go. So that'll be the bass synth that we hear after the initial chorus riff is played. Well, I hope this video has been helpful for you, and as my gift to you for watching, I'd love to send you that sample pack that I've mentioned earlier in this video using some of the sounds that we've used in remaking this beat. So you could download this absolutely free. Just click the link below in the description box, or you can visit www.beatacademy.com/pack to download your free sample pack, which includes construction kits, loops, transition effects, one-shots, and you could use this on any DAW. So just click, drag and drop, and it's 100% royalty free. So my gift to you, and thank you so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe, like, do all that crazy good stuff, and I'll see you next time.